Hello, my name is Miles, and I am your host of Stop Stigma, Start Healing, the raw and uncensored podcast where we talk openly and unapologetically about our lives as trans, lesbian, bi, gay, queer, and HIV positive humans. Our goal is to stop the stigma that prevents us from getting the healthcare we deserve. The format of each episode, we will feature real people in our community in conversation and storytelling. And here's our disclaimer. The experiences shared here are valuable and important. They are based on the lives of those in this space and some of you who are listening. Prepare to be educated, shocked, seen, triggered, and informed. But no matter your response, keep the conversation going. Start healing. And today's topic is on parenting in the LGBTQ plus community. And I have some awesome guests here who are going to lead us through this discussion. You may recognize some of them from season 1. That's you two. Yeah. So we could go around the room. We'll go this way. First name, pronouns, and what would you like those listening at home to know about you?
Sure. I am Kristen. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And let me see. Philly girl. Raised in Philly. Spent some time in the Virginia Beach Tidewater area. Been in Columbus for 6-7 years now. Ready to go.
7, 8.
Huh?
7 or
7
8.
or 8? Really?
Maybe. I met you 6 years ago.
Really?
You were already here.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. And I'm trying to get up out of here. I am partnered and I have a 21-year-old kid.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thanks.
My name is Dina, and she, her, hers. I have a wonderful, amazing wife and 2 children, 10 and 8. I am from Ohio, have stayed in Ohio, and need to get out of Ohio. So I am working on that diligently as we speak.
Thanks, Dina. I'm glad you're here.
Me too.
Glad we got you before you left.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
I'm very glad about it.
And
I'm Evan, he, him pronouns. I guess I'm the only Ohioan that's staying here. Columbus is the only place that's ever felt like home to me. And I've been in a lot of places. But I've got 2 kids, a 7-year-old and a 1-year-old. I birthed the 7-year-old pre-transition. Then the 1-year-old was birthed by my partner. And we live in like a polyamorous family unit. So there's 3 parents in our family unit, but there are 5 adults in our household. So we do a little communal living situation.
excited to learn more about that.
Me too. I love it.
But yeah.
Is it like I just immediately I'm like, oh my God, you get to like have help.
Oh, there's a lot of help. It's honestly
That's
the
the
best
first thing I
thing.
think is like, oh God, that
That's
sounds
pretty
like
cool.
naps without guilt.
That's exactly what that is. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Nice.
doesn't sound half bad.
So in preparation for today's discussion, I did some Googling. Can I say Google? They're not a sponsor. Google's not a sponsor, but it's a way that I can find out some information. And based on a couple of vehicles where there were some information. So one from UCLA and one from the 2017 US Census, surprisingly, which is problematic in and of itself, but got some interesting information specifically about the LGBTQ community. So 37% of LGBTQ adults have had a child at some time in their life. 37. That's a decent number.
Yeah.
48% of female identified humans in our community under the age of 50 have kids. 48%.
Yeah.
20% of male identified humans under the age of 50 have kids. 16,000 queer parenting units are raising 22,000 adopted children. It's a lot.
I love it.
It's not enough.
Not
Right.
enough.
It's not enough.
Great numbers. 2,600 queer parents are fostering 3,400 children. And 3.7 million children under the age of 18 have LGBTQ parents. So we're here.
I was just say it sounds like
We're queer.
we're
Yeah.
here.
So And we know those numbers are underreported because with 2017 census, there was a lot of issues around how they identified who we are. And so we know that those numbers are lower than probably what is actually happening. Because if you were a single head of household, you couldn't.
Right. There was
no information. So yes.
I think I remember like writing on like,
yes.
I just like outside of the box, like I'm actually a lesbian, I have a wife, and I just wrote a bunch of information on it.
Because we weren't allowed to put that down.
Screw that.
So no surprise, we have some queer parents in the room. I use the word queer to encompass sort of the alphabet mafia.
Yeah.
So
that's fine.
Hopefully no one's offended by that. But that's okay. It's easier to say.
I heard in the disclaimer that we will be triggered, so that's fine.
Yes, good. So
I'm prepared for that.
Good. So if we could go back around and talk a little bit more about who you are from the perspective of being a parent and being in the LGBTQ community, and we can popcorn around whichever order you want to go is fine with me.
Okay, Dina's looking at me.
I didn't sit by him on purpose. Yeah.
All right. So just like what, my story?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you want to share.
Sure.
For the folks listening.
All right.
You all three of you have like sort of unique,
I'm sure, they're
pathways to parenting. And I thought it's probably important for the folks at home to hear.
That sounds great.
Okay. Well, my pregnancy was not a planned one. It was definitely one that it happened when I was 17, when I was acting straight, as sometimes you have to do. And so, yeah, it was before I came out, got pregnant. My daughter's father is a lot older. And so he's never really been involved. Which is okay with me. It's a lot less stressful that way. I notice a lot of my friends who have like kids and the dad is somewhat involved. It's like a mess. So I'm just like, he was completely hands off. I was like, thank you, God. Let me go live my life and raise my baby. So that's kind of how that happened. Every now and then I have a partner in my life to help, but it's pretty much been me, So that's how that all happened. I tried to get pregnant about 3 years ago. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yes.
Maybe 3-4 years ago. Tried with the help of a gay friend of mine, and he was awesome. And, it didn't take, obviously. But, after I tried like maybe 3 times, I was like, okay. And then also my primary care person kept telling me it was geriatric. And so I was like,
that just hurts your feelings, doesn't it?
It's like geriatric. I was like, so I'm 39 now. That was about 4 years ago. Yeah, 35. So yeah,
it's
she
considered
saying geriatric. So that creeped me out. And I didn't want to be like one of those parents who are like 60 and their kids graduating high school. So I was like, all right. I'll stick with the one that I got, and she's pretty cool. So
you got a good one.
I do. I do. I love her.
You probably had a lot to do with her turning out good.
Everything to do with it. Hello, Dina.
I know. I'm just saying. She might have got a good one, but she did good too. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Our story. So we were together probably about 5 years before we started trying to have kids. We both got through our master's degrees to become social workers. Yes, our babies have 2 social work mommies.
I'm sorry.
I know. Bless their little
queer
hearts.
thing.
Right. It is.
Bless their little hearts. So my partner, we were talking about it for a long time, and we were trying to figure out what to do. And we knew a lot of beautiful gay men that we just thought, were our friends, and we're thinking about asking. And then we were like, maybe not anyone we know. So then we started looking at sperm banks and paying $25, $50 a pop just to like see a picture, like you would read about them and be like, oh, this person sounds awesome. You paid $25. You'd be like, what the hell? Like, what is,
It's like a classified ad.
I mean, I was like, oh God. So we did that a couple of times. And I think we must have been talking to a really good friend of ours, and kind of talking about the process. And he said something to the effect of, well, I would do it. And we were like, I don't know about a known donor. Like, I don't just kind of, right. Like, I don't really want, I specifically remember saying, if I give my kid a Coke, I don't want to hear anything about it. Like, I want to be able to do what I want. And, when we're looking through all these bios and things, you're just so specific, right? And you're looking for these, like, we were looking for these red flags of like, well, we do want, we don't want sort of thing. And at some point I just looked at my wife and I said, if I were straight and I were in love with him, I wouldn't question, right, his background and these things. I would just have a child with the person. And we do love him. Like, he's amazing. He's wonderful. And so we talked to him about it. Like, are you serious? Like, is this actually something you would want to do? At the time he lived in Maryland. So we had a long distance friendship, and we're like, we're going to have to fly you in and do all these things. And I really appreciated that he was very much like, let's get the legal paperwork in place. And Ohio was a little shady. We did what we could, which were donor agreements, and eventually, once the kids were born, co-custody agreements. But those all had kind of been challenged a little in the past. And so it was the best that we could do. But we all knew that at the end of the day, if like he wanted to fight for it, or, if my wife, if we broke up, like I really had no rights in that situation, because she carried. And so we ended up going for it. And, you can edit this if this is too much. But it turns out my wife is a Gold Star lesbian. Oh. So, yeah. So, which I'm very appreciative of, because unlike a very large percentage of people, the moment sperm entered her body, she got pregnant. Like that. Wow. Right. And so it was like, oh no, this is happening. Like, you know what I mean? I thought we'd have some time to like, no.
A couple of letdowns.
It's like a little disappointment to see like, did we really want, what I mean? And I was like, oh wow. So this is happening. And it was, it was great. And then when our daughter was about 2, I think, no, must've been 1. When our daughter was about 1, then I started trying, and I could get pregnant, but couldn't carry past like the first trimester. And then took tests, and it was just so much up and down and up and down. And I did it for a year. And like giving myself like blood thinner shots every day, like just really kind of, I think back, I'm like, wow, that was intense. And then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I feel a lot of pressure. I don't want to do this. And, the first go around, she had like, all these calendars, and she knew exactly when she was ovulating, when the sun and the moon and right, all these things. And she was just like so antsy to like, have a kid in this time period, that she just literally got on a flight and pregnant, just like that. Boom.
From the airplane?
Well, not on the airplane. Well, I wasn't there. But my understanding is that she went to Maryland, and, we at first used a doctor, because again, for the donor agreement and things to be legit. But then that shit just got expensive and really difficult. And so more or less turkey baster. It was not a true turkey baster, but that was the
same
concept. Yeah. And so, yeah, she got pregnant again, like immediately. And it was pretty great.
She's pretty gold star.
She is gold. She's my gold star. She's awesome. Amazing. Her pregnancies were terrible. They were terrible. Miles would say they were terrible for all of us. Yeah, she just was very, very, very sick. Bless her heart. But she was she did great, and she's a wonderful mom. And now we joke all the time that I got babies for free.
Yeah,
I know. I know.
You had to do nothing.
I like to think I did some things.
Okay.
But yeah, no. I mean, I didn't have to do a lot of the things. But so then we had 2 babies. Our second daughter was born in May of 2015. And then June of 2015, we were able to get married. Aww. Right? So it happened like that. And so on the day that we went to go do the co-custody agreement at the courthouse, we went to the second floor, wherever you go, and got a marriage license. And on that same day, got married, so that then we had to be married for a year before I could adopt. I think it was this whole huge process. And yeah.
They make it so difficult.
It was, I think back, and I'm so glad that now, like I had a friend who had a baby not too long ago, and she was just on the birth certificate, like just done. You know what I mean? And like none of that stuff. And I was just so glad.
So this would be one of those times where I say, Dina, stick a pin in it.
I did. I caught myself. I was like, and I'm going to be done now. Well,
just because you're going to tell your whole story, and then I'm going to ask you more questions, and you're going to run out of things to say.
I never run out of things to say.
I don't think
I get that impression.
Yes.
It's true. It's a gift.
We'll hand the mic over to Evan.
Oh, well, I lived the first 28 years of my life as a cishet woman. So I was doing the whole marriage, having kids thing, way before being queer was ever a part of my life. And so, got married and, got pregnant with my first. And during that pregnancy, I was experiencing like so much gender dysphoria and things like that, and I had no idea what was happening. It was just a really bad time. And, I thought to myself, like, I'm absolutely never doing this again. Like, this is the worst time ever. And I thought to myself, like, I just don't understand, like, why I'm so bad at being a woman. Like, why am I so bad at being a mom? And like, none of it made sense to me at that time. And then like soon after I had my first one, I met a woman who's my partner, Avery, now. And we kind of had like a love at first sight experience. And like overnight, I just realized I'm bisexual, it's just like one of those things that just hits you out of nowhere. And it changed my entire life. Like, it was kind of like, that infomercial with all the Tupperware in the cabinet and you open it up to take one out, but like it all comes tumbling out. So it was just like one thing after another. I was like, oh, I'm bisexual. Oh, I'm polyamorous. Oh, I'm actually trans. And so like all of these things sort of just like cascaded into my life. We became poly. So my husband, Chris, and the woman that I fell in love with, Avery, we formed a polyamorous triad. And so Avery moved in with us, and we were all co-parenting my first Evie together. And we took some time to kind of figure out how to be a polyamorous family unit. We knew we wanted more kids, but there's no rule book for what we were doing. So we basically had to write the script from scratch. So eventually, Avery decided that they wanted to carry. Avery carried our second one. And so Chris is the father of both. So our kids are technically half siblings genetically. And so now we have Ezra in our lives. And, recently, we've also opened up our home to some of our polycule, which is like Chris has another partner, and then she has a husband and they have a baby, so it's like they have their own family unit. And so they moved in with us, and so it's the 5 of us as adults, but we're 2 separate family units. And they have a baby the same age as Ezra, and we're like raising them like siblings, and it's just like a communal living situation. So like one of us is in charge of like feeding the whole family, and another one is in charge of like the household, and another one's in charge of childcare for the day. And like, so we're just all sharing responsibilities of raising the kids and the household. And so that's kind of like
great.
Yeah,
right?
it is. 5 adults in the house is like a really great division of labor.
Yeah. Wow.
Until you get bathroom duty.
Hopefully this.
Yeah.
I mean, we did have to like build extra bedrooms in our house. So now
really?
like
Where do you live?
yeah. Now we have like 6 bedrooms in our house because we had to like finish the basement and like put up walls and stuff.
Yep.
But yeah.
Okay.
Well, it takes a village. That's truly a village.
I know. That's so cool.
dope.
Yeah. So, question I'm just going to throw out here, and anyone can grab it, or all of you. So, what support did you get along the way, or what support did you not get that you wished you'd had?
Well, I can definitely say the first time around, we had a child as like a normative cishet family. And so there was family everywhere.
So like the showers.
Oh
and
yeah,
the
exactly. My cousin
pre-showers
threw
and
me
the
a shower,
post-showers.
and like there, like everyone wanted to be a part of that. Everyone came to visit at the hospital. And then the second time around, we were living a much queerer life. And so we didn't have the luxury of taking for granted that family was going to be there.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people that had kind of like stepped out of our lives at that point. So support was a lot harder to come by. But I also think the quality of our support was a lot stronger because of that.
because of chosen family.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Either one of you?
I mean, my in-laws are, I got this one. My in-laws are amazing. So they were super supportive. My mother-in-law, Beth, had both girls at home. And my mother-in-law was there for both of them. So we're like chilling in the living room. Yeah.
Like in the living room?
I set up a tub, like a pool.
Yes.
Like a pool in the living room. And yeah, like our midwives came over and
It's like the birth that I wanted.
it was really amazing. It was really amazing. I think Beth she said fuck once, right? It was none of this like screaming sort of thing you see, like none of that. She was doing this hypnobirthing thing. I love when I tell this story. It makes me seem way crunchier than I am. But yeah, so we did that. Pam was there, and my father-in-law was out back every time like
Boiling
things would
water.
get more serious. He would like go further and further. He was like, ugh. But bless his heart. The second time though, when our youngest was born, he took the oldest to Wendy's.
You could have just said a fast food establishment, but okay.
A fast food establishment.
They're so bad.
With a
She, I think, has a paid
temptress.
endorsement. Kickback.
I wish. No, but he did literally take her there. And so that was just a neat kind of experience for her that she left the house and then came back and there was a baby.
There's a baby.
I know. She was so excited.
Did she wonder about the swimming pool in the living room?
No, I mean, she was in it. She helped me set it up. You know what I mean? Like we were setting it up and no, it was natural.
It's beautiful.
Like, why wouldn't there be a swimming pool in your living room? Right? I think it just makes sense. But I mean, she was at all the midwifery appointments and things like that. So, I mean, they were very cool about letting her be involved in the processes and stuff.
She probably remembered coming out in that same very pool.
This looks familiar.
Right. She was like, oh, it's like,
I know what's getting ready to happen.
Like a gigantic warm womb.
Yeah. That's the idea.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So they were great. And I mean, my mom, took the dog so that, we would not have to deal with her. She was an intense dog. And then came back and, did all the grandma stuff and cooked for us and cleaned up and did all the sweet things. And I didn't know what she would be like. And so she impressed me. I had my hopes pretty low, just to keep myself from being disappointed. And she stepped up. It was pretty great.
All right. Well, those are nice stories. Mine was not so much. So yeah, before, the family was like, oh, she's gay. It was, oh, she's so fast and she got pregnant so young. Mm-hmm. And so I was actually in foster care at the time of me getting pregnant. Then sometime around, I want to say like my 5th or 6th month, in Philadelphia, once you're pregnant, you are no longer a child. You are an adult, and they basically kick you out of the system.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So then my wonderful aunt and uncle, whom I love and adore and who have supported me through all my craziness, they said, come move to Virginia. So that's how I got from Philly to Virginia. Okay. So moved to Virginia. And they were pretty supportive, but they were also like, I guess that's support too. It's tough love. They were like, you gonna have to figure something out. You got a kid. You're gonna have to figure out how you're going to be an adult and, raise this kid. And so I got engaged because they found this nice young man who had just joined the military, and he goes to their church and their family. And so I got engaged, and I was like, what the fuck? What am I doing? This doesn't feel right. And so, you get engaged, and then I found him cheating, and I was like, yes. So I broke up with him. And then, as life goes on, I noticed that then I came out, and then it's like, oh, God, great. So now she's gay. She's got a kid and, that kind of thing. So I didn't get much support. My aunt has always been my ear. Like, she listens to me and she gives me soul advice, even though mostly it's like, about God and all that good stuff. But that's her, I'm not going to change her. And I take what I can get from it and move on. And her advice has been really good. So as far as support goes, that my aunt and my uncle are my support. I've dated a couple people who have been in her life. Not really much support. I've always been like, yeah, I got this. Don't worry about it. And if I have a question, I'll ask my aunt and uncle, and so that's my support. I think I would have had more support. Also, my community has supported me too, like my chosen family and just people that I kind of meet along the way. But I think with the second one, if it would have happened, I would have had a lot more support, because I met my partner and I'm like, look, I'm trying to have a baby. So if you're not into this, that's fine. If it happens, you can run away. I don't care. It's fine. But before we start dating, this is what it is. But her mother, I love this lady. I love her mother probably more than I love her. Like her mom and her family. Nope, you can leave it there. She knows.
Okay.
When we broke up for a year, I told her, I was like, can I still be your mama's friend? Cause, but I know she would have been great. And, so that didn't happen, but she's still great. And she calls my daughter her granddaughter. And I think this is probably the last, that's the end all be all to pimp Kristen. So we'll see how that goes.
So you all have chosen to do parenting, in not the, how do I say it? In not the heterosexual way. I was going to say not the generic way. That was part of being shocked and triggered.
Generic. I like generic.
Not the average way. You all have a unique family style. So how did you identify, or who in your life were like your parenting role models, whether it's people you saw on movies or in books, or people in your own lives were like, they've got something that I would like to emulate?
For anybody who has young kids, Bluey. Has anybody seen Bluey before?
I think we missed Bluey.
You missed it? Yeah, I guess your kids would be too old. There's not a lot of great parenting role models in media. When you look at sitcoms and things like that, it's like, it's meant to be funny. It's meant to be exaggerated.
Yeah.
So like all that stuff, like I wouldn't do that with my kids.
Yeah.
You know, they're causing problems. They're full of drama. That's not the type of life I'm trying to live.
Yeah.
Right.
But if anyone has a chance to check out this cartoon Bluey, it's for kids. My kids love it. And like, there's stories in there for the parents, though. It's relatable to the parents. And so the parents are making like gentle parenting decisions that I'm like, oh, that's actually a really good idea. Like, of course I would do that. And they have like Easter eggs in there. Like when you're looking in the backseat of their car, there's like French fries under the car seats and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, thank God it's not just my car.
Right.
So
Right. It's
like,
really validating.
yeah, that's been the most relatable and probably like inspirational parenting media that I've seen.
Bluey. And you're not a producer of the show, or you don't get any kickbacks?
No, I
Okay.
don't get paid by Bluey.
You would like to, though.
I'd like to get paid by anybody.
Yeah.
For sure. Let's see, parenting role models. My grandmother and my grandfather were great. They had that old school traditional Black family. You know, it was like he worked, she stayed home. He got paid. He handed her a check. She made sure dinner was done when he got home. You know, she did laundry. She cleaned the house. She went grocery shopping. They would go grocery shopping in Jersey because that's where the better food was. Whatever, you know, and they always made it a thing, you know, let's get up and head on over to Jersey. It was so cute. Like, I love them. They would dance in the kitchen, you know, and it was very cute. I miss seeing that. They were cute. My aunt and uncle, they never had children, but they knew what they were doing. If so their lives, their employment was with children who had disabilities, mental disabilities and physical, and the love that they showed those kids. Like, I was like, they're great. Like, they're really just good people. And so, I mean, that's what I had. My mother and father was not really in my life. My father was in and out. My mom was completely out. So I didn't really have many people, but I used to watch the Cosbys, and I would be like, look at that. Like, that's the perfect Black family. Like, and then here we are, 2023. So, you know, shit changes.
That was disappointing.
It was disappointing.
It really was.
Yeah, I cried about that. Like, come on.
Well, but even because of that, right? I still see some like clips and things of like their parenting, and I like show my kids. I'm like, listen, you think I yell, right?
Yeah.
Like, look at that.
Yeah.
That did not do that.
Yep.
Right. And it's just this beautiful situation. I want them, and I'm like, I don't know that I can watch it.
Yeah.
Like, I just.
The show is fine, though, right? It's the real people behind.
Yeah,
Is that
but
the issue?
the fact that you can't separate the two.
I want to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I want to
okay.
separate
I want
the two. But then, you know, I go back to clips where it's Felicia Rashad and she's digging in their ass, and I'm like, now that I can
right
still
there.
keep.
I'm like,
I
this
can
is
keep that.
good.
Yeah.
This is real good. Yeah. I mean, I thought that.
Married with Children.
So yeah,
Roseanne.
No joke. Yes, that is probably very close to what I actually do. I love Roseanne. Which
If Roseanne
again,
was a social worker.
though, what a disappointment that turned out to
Oh,
be.
yeah, right.
Whatever. But
Why
again,
these people got to be human?
I know, it's
and
really
make these
terrible.
horrible mistakes
Sitcom
in
star,
life.
you
I
can't trust
know.
Wendy's.
Can't
like,
trust.
okay. I hope I can trust you all.
Can.
So, I mean, my parents were good parents. I really appreciate my mom. I still remember she got called in to talk to my second grade teacher. My second grade teacher wanted to talk to her.
For talking to them.
No, that was just on the report cards.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. And she was very concerned because I played with the boys
Oh, my.
at recess. She was very concerned. She was very concerned about it. You know, the girls were doing whatever it was they were doing, and I was with the boys. And I remember my mom saying, I just looked at her and I said, how's she doing in math?
Right.
Like, how are her
what
grades?
What a great mother.
Has she harmed anyone? Right? And like, no. And she's like, she can play with whoever she wants to on the playground.
Nice.
She would bring home clothes, and I would immediately, we got to the point where I just look at her and she would say, I got them from the boys section. Like, you know, she just really, she let me wear my Fisher Price tool belt over top of the green dress she made me wear. So, you know, compromise. I feel like she taught me compromise, and how to kind of allow the child that you don't really know how to parent, right? That's not your strengths or whatever. And just letting them be. And I really tried to practice doing that with my very traditionally girly girl daughter that I have. Where I try to, like, yeah, fingernails are really great. Let's do that. I'll buy you fingernails and like hair products and makeup and, you know, things that I don't know anything about. I'm like, yeah, let's do that thing. It sounds great.
So actually, that's a good opportunity to slide into the next question, which is, how do you talk to your kids about, or do you, or have you talked to your kids about being queer?
You know, I get that question all the time.
Yeah.
Like usually from like cis straight people. Like, how do you explain it to your kids? And they're talking about everything. How do you explain being poly to your kids? How do you explain being trans to your kids? And the simple answer is I don't, because that's normal to them.
Exactly. They don't know.
That's their life. What I have to explain to my kids is when they go to school and someone's making fun of them for having 3 parents, they're like, why is that weird? Why are they upset about it? That's what I have to explain to my kids.
And I think that was what I was getting at with the question. Is like, how do you explain, how do you talk about that with your kids when they start hearing things from their peers? But both,
I remember wondering how my kids would be when they went to school, because so our donor daddy is very involved in our kid. Yeah. So he moved to Ohio. And he is very involved in, we all refer to him as DD, for donor daddy. And when my kids went to school, he comes to their things. And so I wasn't there, but my wife told me a story of he came to a lunch on the lawn with our youngest, and so she must have been in like kindergarten or something. And a little kid said, you know, who's that? And she was like, oh, that's my DD. That stands for donor daddy. He's like a dad, but he doesn't live with us, but like he helped my mom's make me, and so he loves me, and you know, and just boom,
wow,
like that. And I was like,
at what age did she explain?
No, I think that was like kindergarten. I know.
Yeah, and it's just figure things out.
Well, and we did, you know, I'm a little bit of a nerd. We had all these books, right, that were like explaining how, you know, parents, you know, all different sorts of families are made. And, you know, so they knew early on, right, that like I am their mama, but they did not come from me. But their attitudes appear to have, right. I try to
nature versus nurture.
I mean, it's real. But you know, I really try by osmosis to make them Italian.
Sure.
You know, I try to give them the things I like about myself. But they're just they're smart. They figure it out on their own.
Evan, how do you deal with when your kids come home with questions like that? I was interested in knowing.
We mostly just talk about how everyone's different, you know, and everyone's family looks different, and your family is really special, and not a lot of people have seen a family like yours before, you know. So we kind of give her tools on like how to educate people, how to talk about her family, things like that.
Cool. Let me see. I forgot the question. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay.
It's a good filler though.
Yeah.
So Well, it wasn't very hard because there are lots of single parents. And so for the most part of her life, that's what I was. So really the question started with, oh, they're having a daughter-daddy dance. So dealing with that part. And then just real quick, and this is part of like ADHD, but go back to the part about the parent roles. So was my grandmother and grandfather the best parents? No, they were extremely strict, very strict. I got a new bike every year for Christmas and I could not ride it off of the block. And so straight away, I knew that once that's how I ended up pregnant at 17, because my grandmother passed and a lot of the strings, I left the block. A lot of those strings were cut and I was like, oh, okay. And so, I was out there. I was outside. And so, so let's go back now. So, okay. Yes. So the daughter daddy dances, you ain't got a, you got a dad, but he ain't nothing. And, and it is what it is. And then and since I date very studly women.
Yes, you do.
It would be more so, she wouldn't ask me questions, but once they try to get involved, I'm like, oh, I'll drop her off at school, or, I'll pick her up from school. Then the questions started to come, like, my friend said that your friend dresses like a boy, and then I'll be like, okay, and you dress like a girl, so what? Right. And so it wasn't really much explaining. She just kind of was like, oh, okay, well, this is what mom is into, and that's cool. It was never really like any questions other than questions that came from other people, that kind of thing. But she's like, kids are smart. They're resilient. Yeah. They figure it out very quickly, sometimes faster than you. She knew when my partners was not going to work out. So she was like, I don't know about that one. As she got older, then it became like, Mom,
right?
What is this? I'm like, come on, I'm just having fun, But yeah, and so she's a smart girl. She's one of the smartest kids I know. So
I mean, I think really the questions come from the questions they get from others.
Yeah. These generic peoples.
Those generic people. So we're going to take a brief time out for a little commercial, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Soccer games, Cub Scouts, dance class, school projects, anti-LGBTQ legislation on top of your job, your relationships, and managing your household. It is exhausting and isolating. So let's talk. Time Out, a support group for LGBTQ parents, held on the first Monday of every month. Visit equitashealth.com for more information.
Welcome back to our episode on parenting. And I'm here with Kristen, Dina, and Evan, and we're talking all things LGBTQ parenting. So most things, there's only a small representation in the room. So I would like to hear about, and I know your story is going to be a little different, but what was your involvement with the LGBTQ community before you had kids? And then what's it been like now that you have kids?
It's interesting that you asked that today, because just today we were talking about Pride and the Pride Parade. And I was explaining to my daughter how, there's always going to be people who show up to protest and to say ugly things. And I didn't tell her this, but when I was childless, I would engage with these people, right? I would be, on High Street and standing next to them and engaging with and really kind of playing during that. And once I had kids, it was like we moved to Goodale Park, right? We were watching the parade from the park instead. We weren't, on High Street in the middle of it. And now we don't go at all. We won't go to a Pride parade. I can't remember the last one we've gone to, just because the inherent violence that could be is just, so that's what we were talking about. I was like, I think we're going to be in our new home during their Pride. It's in July. And I was like, I think I think we might go to a Pride festival this year. And so I would say for me, that's the main difference is, I would be in the face and enjoy kind of that conflict. Whereas then it was like very protective. Like I want to make sure that my babies are, they don't know the hate that's there.
I don't think I had, you're right. I was,
you became a parent then, came out.
And then even still, I was still pretty, not closeted, but I was also still not very involved in the community because, like I started, I'm telling my age, but like my daughter was born in 2001. And even still, like it was not okay to hold hands. It was not okay to be on the street kissing somebody. So I still lived a pretty in the closet kind of life. And it wasn't until my daughter was probably 5 or 6 where I dated someone who was a drag king, and I had no idea what that was. And I'm like, what? You already dress like a guy. I don't understand. Oh, you put pencil on your face and you have a mustache now. Okay. And you go on stage and people throw money at you. Okay. So I started going to like clubs, and in Virginia, there's a club. It's no longer there. And I'm super sad about it, but it was called Nutty Buddies. And, and that was like my first time really seeing like drag queens and drag kings. And I was like, oh, this is a whole party life. Like I loved it. It was great. I got involved in some things out there. And then I got super, super involved when I moved here to Columbus. Not even on purpose. I worked at a specific place and I applied not knowing really much about the place. And once I got there, I was like, oh, look at all my folks. I get to help all of my folks and see them on a regular basis. And in that company, I did lots of outreach and going to balls and things like that. And then I involved my daughter, and she couldn't wait to get involved. And she, at 15 was packing condom packs to throw at Pride, and wanted to go to the balls and, all those things. She wanted to go to GCMC. Like she was just so involved in everything. And then I want to say 2019 or 18 was her first Pride. I had gone to Prides before, but not super involved. And I'm just like, oh, I get to put on rainbow stuff and not be judged for it, And so that was her first Pride. I want to say she was about 15. Yeah. And she just had such a great time. Like, I was like, oh, yay. And that year she came out as well. So yeah. So not much involvement at all in the beginning. Lots of involvement after. And then now it seems like Pride is during the hot month.
Oh, it's so hot.
I'm old and fat and I don't want to stand in the sun. And so I will just post a rainbow and maybe wear my rainbow watch.
There you go.
Real quick though, Arizona?
Well, yeah, I'm going there to lose weight, so I won't care anymore.
Okay.
Dana.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I know, it was 113 degrees last time I was there.
Like, oh.
I can't say it, no, because,
All right, that's fine.
How about you, Evan?
I mean, my experience was a lot like Kristen's in that before I had my first kid, that was pre-epiphany.
Yeah.
So I had absolutely zero queer exposure. I mean, like had I had any exposure, I probably would have figured it out a long time ago. But I had absolutely no information about the community at all. I honestly probably didn't even know how to be an ally at that point in my life. And then she was about 2 years old when I started to come out and started to, figure out my identity and stuff like that. And so while I was learning she was learning, so she learned all of these things right alongside me.
Same.
Yeah. And so we kind of like grew together, and now she's 7 and she's like a pronoun warrior. So like
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Every time she meets a new person, she's like, are you a he, a she, or a they? Oh. And so like, that's just normal for her now. Right. And now Ezra is of talking age. So, now she's, Evie's teaching Ezra all of these things too. I don't even have to teach Ezra. Evie's got it,
That's cool.
I love that.
So our legislators are working hard to protect your families. I don't know if you're aware of this. And their claim is the biggest threat to your children are drag queens reading books. And so I just wanted to hear from real parents how drag queens reading books have harmed you and your families.
Tremendously.
Well, they have like drills for it in elementary school. Evie comes home all the time, like really traumatized by the drag queen drills.
Yeah. Reading Heather Has Two Mommies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My daughter continuously asks me to take her to drag shows, and I'm broke and I don't want to go and not be able.
Traumatized.
Yeah, I'm traumatized because I don't want to go and not be able to throw all the money in the world to these babes. Right. That's all BS.
I mean, just the idea that, again, we're working diligently to leave, and we were going to last year. Like we were working on it, and then there was this election coming up, and I was like, okay, maybe Ohio is gonna like bring me back, and they didn't. Mm-hmm. They did not, and so I was like, ugh. And every time I talk to somebody, and I start feeling a little bit sad about like not being here anymore, there's a drag show, drag brunch, drag library thing, and literal Nazis come to the community. Yeah, and I'm like,
wow.
So the only way that drag queens are, negatively impacting me is that Nazis decide to show up. That's certainly not the drag queen's fault. So no, I cannot with this.
Correct. That was all sarcasm, by the way.
Yes, I know.
Yes. Brought to you by sarcasm. So last question of the night. So what message would you like to share with others in our community? Any sort of messages of hope about being parents, being the wonderful people you are? This is just your opportunity to hit the hot mic and say the things you want to say. Within limits, Dina. I
know. I was like, you go first.
I mean, like, I think anybody can do it. There's particularly as a trans person, there's a lot of things in my life that I feel I don't have access to. I used to be a teacher, and the reason I got out of teaching was because I thought to myself, like, I can't transition in this job because that's not safe. That's dangerous. Like, parents are going to have some things to say about it. Like, kids are not going to get it. I'm going to get fired if I explain my identity. And so there's a lot of things in my life I feel like are not safe for me. But parenting is something that I do have access to. I can do it. I can do it safely. And it's brought a lot of joy into my life. It's made me grow as a person. It's brought some incredible people into my life. So it's become like an entire huge section of who I am as a person and part of my identity. And, I think that there's a lot of people out there that might be scared to do that because they're like, I don't know if it's going to be dangerous. I don't know if like I'm going to have help. I don't know if people are going to look at me weird or like whatever's going to happen, and that's not to say scary things don't happen or hard things don't happen. But you can do it.
Majority is good.
Yeah, majority is good. It's worth it.
Mm-hmm. You want me to go first so you can talk?
Sure. I'm over here trying to figure out what I'm even going to say.
Oh, okay. Well, what was the question again?
What's so great about Philly?
Cheesesteaks, Rocky. No,
I just had my first cheesesteak like 2 weeks ago.
That's why I looked at you because I knew you just went to Philly.
Oh, you got it in Philly?
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good job. Okay. There's another place here that I'll tell you about, but off because I don't get paid by them.
Correct.
So I would just say, no matter how you got to be a parent, embrace it. Like there are going to be very tough times. There are going to be times where you don't know what to say to your kid, but I don't know if there's a bigger difference, rather than being a queer parent or just a parent. Like it's all the books are wrong, right. Like it's just you trying to figure it out. And, a lot like you, Evan, I grew up with my daughter, and so I consider myself an old queer now, and she's keeping me abreast of all the new alphabets and all the new things. And, and so I love being a parent. It is the thing that saved my life. And it doesn't ever stop. I'm learning. She's 8, at 18, I was like, yes, I'm done. No. Lots more to do. So the only advice I can really give is just do the best you can. And I think the coolest thing about being a parent is that you see how the mistakes were made by your parents. Mm-hmm. Like, you as a teenager, like, how could you do this? And why are you that way? And this and this. And then I'm like, as a parent, I'm like,
I get it.
Right, she checked out. I don't blame her. She checked out. Sometimes I check out too, but I come back. And that's the important part. And, he was doing his thing. He wanted to live his life. And damn it, I've been Kimberly's mom for over half of my life. Mm-hmm. And so, I am now learning to be who I am and to find me and all those good things other than Kimberly's mom. So the only advice I can give is just do your best. Mm-hmm. Do your best. And at the end of the day, your kids will be like, oh, you're annoying. And then when they're 25 or 30 and they're a parent, then they'll be like, oh, I can see why you were annoying.
We can only hope.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
I'm known at my place of employment as birth control because I am very honest about what it's like to be a parent. And I'm finding that parenting is a lot like immigration.
Oh.
For me, it is. Like you really have to want to do it.
Yeah.
Because there is one thing after the next. And right when you think you got it, something else is there. And so just trying to be patient and trying to kind of do your best. And I mean, it is I wouldn't trade my family for the world. And by far the most emotionally stressful situations happen with them. I've never loved anyone.
Right.
And disliked them so much in the same moment. Mm-hmm. And and this probably, you guys probably will figure, I never got spanked. Ooh. Yeah. So that's probably why I am a little bit the way I am. But I was always, I would always argue, you do not hit your kids. Don't do it. And I'm like, I know why people hit their kids. I've told my daughter, I've never wanted to hit anybody. Mm-hmm. And I do.
Pops.
I really
you don't hit them. You pop them.
I'm
Spank.
just no,
you don't
of it.
spank. You pop them. That's the legally way.
Here's what I do. I'm gonna leave this room now.
Oh, you do a timeout
because I'm feeling very frustrated, and I'm noticing that I want to behave in a way that isn't really how I want to behave. So I'm gonna go to my room for a little while.
So Caucasian,
isn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah, that's the most Caucasian thing you've ever said.
You don't get a whole lot more
That's
Caucasian.
The most Caucasian thing she said all
I
night.
think so.
I think so.
Not the bathtub. birth?
I
Okay.
love that. I love that. I'm
I'm going to walk out of this room.
Now get out of my face before I knock you out.
Oh, please. This is I'm on camera.
Okay, gotcha.
Children's Services watching.
I mean, I am a
Yes,
mandated
they're always
reporter.
watching.
I don't want to have to report on myself.
Gotcha.
No, but I just, the frustration.
It's hard.
It is hard.
and amazing at
It
the same
doesn't
time.
get easier.
Yes. Those two things. It is the hardest thing I've ever done.
Absolutely
For
is.
sure. For sure. And so I really do encourage folks, like, I want people to want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Because you've never loved anything more.
Oh,
You
never.
know? So
Never.
but then like you said, you dislike them very much at times.
man.
I dislike
they-
my kid at least once a week. Like I come
Once
home
a
and there's like
week?
5 dishes. Well, she's 21 now, so I don't
Okay.
even see her that much. She
All right,
works
fair.
and all that stuff. But I'm like, the trash has been full for 2 days. Can't stand her ass. I'll call her at her job and be like, when you get home, I don't care what time it is. And I know she doesn't get off of work till like 11:30 at night sometimes. I don't want her walking around, but
So let's end on a joyful moment because I was going to stop us there, but you all just took it to a really dark parenting
No, it's
place.
not
and I
dark.
feel
It's
I had to
true.
pull out the
It's not dark.
Chardonnay or the
It's
rosé
real.
it's
wine.
real. I love
but
them.
yes.
I love them so much.
One thing you love about your kid is
I love how open-minded she is.
okay.
Yep.
I love how funny, like naturally timing funny they are.
I love how authentic they are. Like I've spent so much of my life not being authentic, and like to see them embrace that is just like so beautiful.
That is an absolutely wonderful place to end our time together today. Thank you 3 for being amazing guests.
Thank you.
And,
And wonderful parents.
And wonderful parents
Thank
raising
you.
great
Thank you,
humans
Dina.
in
Yeah,
this
I got
world.
you.
So thank you very much. And we'll see you at the next episode. Good night or good morning.